I'm Victoria Theodore, and you're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Victoria Theodore of EnSpirits.
Yes, and she's also worked with Beyonce and Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
So promoting the upcoming Germany tour 2023 for EnSpirits.
Yep.
Yeah, so hey, let's get to that interview.
All right, good night.
Good night. Victoria, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Hey, Victoria, thanks for joining us tonight.
It's my pleasure, Jeff. Great to meet you.
Well, you become highly regarded by Orion Salazar, one of our favorite past guests here on the Nothing Shocking podcast. So it's a true honor,
Nice.
And we're excited to have you on tonight.
Thank you. Orion's one of my favorite people.
He is. Great guy. So, hey, last week I got a message from you. Recently you've been asked to perform at a Grammy event, and that's why we had to move your interview up a couple weeks. Can you talk a little bit more about this opportunity, and is this a first for you?
Actually, it is. It's a pre-Grammy event featuring a bunch of different really amazing female artists. It's in celebration of women in music, and so I'm going to be part of a band performing, and there's going to be a little ceremony honoring a few different women performers, including Divinity Rocks, and who was the bass player, who formerly was a bass player for Beyonce, but also writes her own original material. I think she has a children's book. As well as Nick West, who's another bass player who's just doing big things, as well as a few different, three other people, hosted by Kristen Morell, who's huge on Instagram. So it's going to be fun. The band is me, Noriko Oling is the music director on this one, Kat Dyson's playing guitar. It's a bunch of musicians, singers. It's going to be a great night.
Oh, fantastic. Well, can I ask you real quick, how did this opportunity come your way?
Just,
Word of
people
mouth.
know me. Word of mouth, yeah.
Oh, very good.
Nice. Who are some of your female influences in rock?
My influences, well, for sure, one of my big influences is Patrice Rushen. She's just a legendary pianist, singer, songwriter, educator, and I grew up listening to her. She's just a fantastic artist and musician, and so she was always an inspiration. Bonnie Raitt is another big inspiration of mine. I just love her. Lisa Fisher, just phenomenal singer. and exquisite artist. Sheila E., the whole Escovedo family, but especially Sheila. I mean, talk about a ceiling breaker, you know, just she's so extraordinary. Top of my head, just trying to think of a few more, like who else? I know there's other, Saida Garrett, my God, songwriter extraordinaire, right? Martha Argerich, she's a classical pianist, but she's not rock, but still, she just is considered by many people to be the greatest living pianist, right?
Very cool.
Younger pianist Hiromi, she's in jazz. So my influences and musical preferences range the gamut, right? So like all kinds of different things.
That's how I am.
Absolutely. Well, you along with Dave Tweedy are in a jazz R&B project, EnSpirits. Can you give our listeners the origins of this project?
Sure. So in 2019, Dave and I are both endorsed by an Italian music manufacturer, Proel. I represent their pianos, which is Decibel, and he's with their drum division, which is Tamburo. We were invited to go and perform for a distributor conference back in 2019. And Dave and I are actually a couple, and we dated since 2015, actually. It's been a while. But we had very distinct careers, so we kept the personal and the business separate. But for this 2019 event, we decided, let's go ahead and write some songs together. He had some tracks already. I listened to them and I wrote some melodies, added some melodies. He's had some melodies too. I added some melodies, and I wrote some lyrics, and then we love to do jam sessions together where we just get together and play music, and just organically came up with a few songs as well. And went to Italy, performed, added on a couple of other shows here and there just because of my experience touring the world. I have a big, beautiful network of people. And it went phenomenally well, so much so that we actually booked a tour in Germany and Poland in 2020, and we all know what happened. So we decided to wait. We finished the record, but we decided to wait to put it out because if we couldn't tour it, it didn't make sense to release it. So we're getting ready to finally release it this year. We have one song that's online right now, so we can at least have something up there, a song called August Forever. And we've performed for private events, and we did have a regular gig in Los Angeles before the pandemic as well, where we would perform our songs, and everywhere we go, it's well received. So we're really excited about taking it to this next step.
Oh, very good. You kind of took the answer to my next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
You spoke about going to Germany and Poland. I guess the draw, you said you had such success in Italy. Is this going to be kind of like a European thing for you guys to do? Is it, you feel like there's more of a draw over on that side of the pond than over here?
At least initially, because the thing is, when you go over there, because we're both high-level musicians, right? I've toured and played with the biggest and the best in the world. He's got multiple shows on all of the streaming platforms, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, you name it. He's got, so it's like we do big things for other people. But, in America, there's just, especially here in Los Angeles, we're in Los Angeles, and there's so many phenomenal musicians here, and there's so many different options for finding the best of the best, because most of the tours originate here, right? So you can go to a club, we went to Gold Diggers the other night, and we saw all these musicians who tour with the drummer from Snarky Puppy, another keyboard player, the saxophone player and the guitar player that tours with Simon Phillips, the legendary drummer, and just, so that's just normal in Los Angeles, right?
Right.
So in order to really stand out, it is easier to go to a different place, big fish, small pond, right?
Sure.
Europe is huge, but still, it's just, we have had wonderful reception there, and so we figure, why not go where we can prove we have proof of concept already. So, and then we can just build it from there, because of course we want to be international. That's the ideal, and including the United States. But because of my extensive touring, the network that I have there, they've offered us this, and so why not?
Yeah,
absolutely. Can you kind of compare and contrast your audience size over in Europe opposed to here in the States?
Oh, wow. Here in the States, like when we had the residency downtown, there was probably 100 people per show that would come. It was a bar, so, it's a little different.
Sure.
We haven't really done shows per se in the States yet. But when we did, during the pandemic, we had a daily show where we performed 100 days in a row at 1 p.m. every day. We called it the 1 p.m. dance party. And so we had hundreds of people internationally watching that. But in Europe, everywhere we went, it was sold out shows. So, probably, smaller clubs, but still, 200, 250.
Nice. Very nice. Jeff, you got the next one?
Well, yeah, you guys made a video for August Forever. Do you have any plans to make any more videos for any more songs from the album?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have a whole agenda. We're planning to release songs and videos this year so that by the time we get to Europe again in June, we'll have several online and available. And just, it's such a challenge to be an independent musician and doing, because you have to do all the things, right? But it's also a privilege. The fact that we get to do it is beautiful.
It is. It is. You kind of labeled EnSpirits as a project. Do you look at it just as a temporary thing? Because usually when we hear other musicians, our project, it's a very temporary thing. Or is this more of like a permanent thing for you and Dave?
Oh, it's definitely a permanent thing. It's just we do a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So, I'm working on a musical that I wrote with a team of 4 other women it's called Marian, about the opera diva Marian Anderson. Dave and I just signed on with another musical based in Oakland called Co-Founders, and we're on the ground level of yet another musical that there's no title or anything. It was just concept right now. Dave does movies. I arrange and I do orchestrations for all kinds of different things. So it's just one of many things that we do. And I also act and I teach and,
Well, can you talk a little bit more? I was going to ask you about the musical Marian and you said the life of Marian Anderson, and you did music and arrangements for the music. Can you talk a little bit more about that experience? Because just looking at briefly, that looks like a pretty cool musical. Can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah, it's so much fun. So in 2019, I was approached by Elkin Antonu and Chelsea Marie Davis. They are the original instigators of this musical based on a book that they both had read about Marian Anderson's life. And they had done maybe 15 songs or so when they decided they wanted to hire a music director. So they found me on the website Maestra Music, which is an aggregator website for women and non-binary artists in the musical theater world. So composers, orchestrators, music directors, lyricists, etc. And we met, in the first moment that we met, we were like sisters for life. And we started creating together, and over time we discovered I needed to be more than the music director, and so I became co-composer with Chelsea. And the story is about Marian Anderson. So she was the first Black woman to sing at the Metropolitan Opera in New York City. She was a huge star in the 1930s, one of the biggest, if not the biggest star in the world at that time. She, in 1939, she had been in Europe. She had been living there for a long time, and like a lot of Black artists, including people like Josephine Baker and Paul Robeson, who were just exceptionally brilliant artists, left the United States because it was such a challenge to live as an artist and be Black in America. So they went to Europe, where they were received much more openly, for the most part. But of course, Nazism was on the rise in Germany, and so she left to come back to America. A huge star, wanted to perform in Washington, D.C. The venue that had the biggest space for her audience was Constitution Hall. Unfortunately, it was run by the Daughters of the American Revolution, which was a very racist organization, and they decided, actually it was in their charter, no Black people were permitted in the building. So they refused her, despite the fact that she was a huge star, despite the fact that she would have sold it out probably multiple times. And to really just throw it in their face. That's not what she would have said it. She would not have phrased it that way, but she, Eleanor Roosevelt, Walter White of the NAACP, and Harold Ickes, who was part of the Roosevelt administration, got together and organized a concert in 10 days in front of the Lincoln Memorial, where Marian Anderson performed live, broadcast on radio to millions of people in front of an audience of 75,000 people.
Wow.
That was a fully integrated audience, if not the first time in the United States, the first time in Washington, D.C. that happened. 75,000 people of all races, no segregation. And Martin Luther King later commented that he heard it on the radio and it influenced him. It's considered to be one of the first actions in the civil rights era, and it's the story of her life. And it's really, and in my own opinion, but other people who've seen it too, it's a really beautiful story, and we've gotten fantastic feedback about the music.
Amazing.
Oh, nice.
Absolutely amazing. Question off that is, you're the musical supervisor off this musical. Now, as a musical supervisor, does that mean you get to do all the hiring and firing of talent? How does that work?
Kind of, sort of. So I'm the main role. The first role is co-composer. So Chelsea and I get together. We actually write the music, and then once we've written it, I do the arranging. And the music supervisor is basically that I'm in charge of making sure that the band is going to sound good, that it's the right voices for the right parts, and just really when we do the readings and just taking in the information. This worked. This didn't work. Change this. Change that. So that's the full role. It's multifaceted.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, besides the musical part of, you also have some acting. You've played the part of Nina Simone. Can you talk a little bit more about your experiences in outside of music?
Absolutely. So, actually started with acting, and I've never really pursued it full time, but I've done some things. Like I'm actually in Matrix 2 and 3 as part of the People of Zion.
Oh, cool.
And
Nice.
I filmed that back in Alameda, California, in Northern California, and at that time the one of the lead roles was Aaliyah, the singer, and so I was in a lot of scenes right with her. But since she died in the plane crash, they reshot those with Nona Gay. So I could never find myself, but I did do it. And then recently I was cast as the hired keyboard player in Lin-Manuel Miranda's directorial debut, Tick, Tick, Boom.
Yeah.
And that was so fun to work with him. He's just a genius and just such a beautiful human being. He just made everybody feel so at ease on set. It was just fun. And then I did the Nina Simone. It was a project that really envisioned a fictional meeting between Nina Simone, the internationally acclaimed singer-pianist who was huge and a big part of the civil rights movement, and Mary Lou Williams, who was I believe she was slightly older, but she is a jazz pianist, composer, and arranger who is considered to be one of the greatest of all time, but given the history of our industry with both racism and sexism, she was at a huge disadvantage and did not receive the accolades that she should have in her lifetime. So this project was envisioning if the two of the ladies had met in Paris and had a conversation as well as a musical jam. So It's called Convergence, and the Convergence project was a brainchild of Tammy Lynn Hall, who's a phenomenal pianist in the San Francisco Bay Area. And she played the role of Mary Lou Williams, and she invited me to play the role of Nina Simone. So we have a conversation where it was fully improvised, but I took on the personality and the character of Nina Simone as best I could, and also played some actual compositions of hers, and Tammy played some actual Mary Lou Williams compositions. And it was awesome. So much fun to do that. Besides that, I've played a musician in several different things. I was in Reno 911, QAnon, playing steel drums with Pink.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that was a blast. So I love doing all of that sort of thing too.
Oh, very good.
Very cool.
Well, musician to actress. Obviously music is your true love, but How do you compare acting to your music career? Is it a close second?
Oh, absolutely. I would say it's probably even a third, because my second love is probably my poetry that I really haven't published yet, but I love writing. I love writing poetry. I love writing scripts. I love writing stories, and I've been doing it my whole life. And I'm starting to open myself up to the idea of doing that too.
Nice.
And then acting is just, if it works, great, but am I going to pursue it full time? No. I've got plenty to do with music.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, in addition to EnSpirits, you also have your own debut album, solo album, Grateful. Can you? I really like the song "Beautiful" on there. Can you talk a little bit about the making of that album?
Thank you. Yeah, that album I started and didn't finish for 7 years. I guess I started it probably, in 2008, and finally released it in 2015. And that was all. I wrote all of those songs. With some on my own and some with various people, a couple of them with one of my close friends, Amy Levine, and Mitch Wilcox. I wrote another song with just some, Bay Area artists, and Brad Falconer did a bunch of the songs with me as well. And just because I loved, like I said, I love writing, but because at the time I was touring with Stevie Wonder, I just didn't have the time to put into doing it like I would have wanted. So it took a full 7 years to release it, and I'm really proud of it. It represents various aspects of my musicianship, including some jazz. There's a couple songs with some Brazilian influence. There's some pop songs. There's some ballads, and it's really a culmination of songs, or a collection of songs that speak to my life's ethic, which is to really be in appreciation and express gratitude for everything, because I really do my best to not take anything for granted. Any of the things that I've been able to do or have accomplished, I really see it as being the blessing of having community, having people who saw me for who I am, who saw me as an artist, believed in me, and gave me opportunity, gave me the space to develop. And I just really, the album is a real thank you for that.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about being a solo artist. Yeah. The writing and recording process for you as a solo artist, opposed to writing and recording music for others or other projects. How can you compare and contrast that?
When you work as a support musician like I do, there's a familiarity, there's a guaranteed paycheck, there's the confidence that you know that you can get by. So there's, and it's easy to fall into that. It's easy to fall into the comfortability of the known. When you're a solo artist, no one pays you to write. No one pays you, unless you get a publishing deal, but then you're still writing for someone else. You're not writing for yourself. So for yourself, no one pays you to do that. No one pays you to practice. Nobody pays you to dream about creating art. And so there's no guarantees in that sense. Even if you make something, there's no guarantees anyone's going to like it, but you have to step out on the faith that if you have the inspiration, if you have the guts and the courage to do it, that's the reward itself. And everything else is cherry on top. Because, yes, would I love to have millions of followers and everyone in the world love my music? Of course. But the satisfaction that I get of just the creation is such a gift. And it takes a lot of courage. I had to learn the courage to step forward into it. And every step that I take toward it is reinforced by, like I said, mentioned the community, the beautiful community of musicians, of patrons, people who are on my Patreon page who support me, people who contributed to my crowdfunding, people internationally who I've connected to. It's really incredible. So, working for other people, especially when you work for people like I have at the highest level, people who are literally setting the bar for excellence. It's a wonderful thing, but at the end of the day, I'm in the service of their vision and their dream, and all the accolades go to them, as they should.
Yeah.
And it feels really good, even on a small scale. Even if there's only 30 people at the gig, and they love what I'm doing, it's magical. And I love it. So I'm really, I'm continuing to step into that. Because it's a big identity shift to go from being a service worker, which is really what a side musician is, a sideman or a gigging musician. We're service workers, to being an artist.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Well, I guess to take it back to being that service worker, what's it like up on stage when, it's not necessarily your song, but you're playing with, somebody like Beyonce, and the crowd just goes nuts for the song that's playing, but you're not really, didn't write it, but you're being a part of that moment, part of that stage experience. Can you talk a little bit about any emotional feels that you've had?
Oh, absolutely. So every single moment when you're on stage with an artist of that caliber, which for me has been Stevie and Beyonce directly as being the keyboard player for them. It was Stevie that was me and Roman Johnson both played keys for him. And the audience reaction. So with Stevie, other than private gigs, the smallest audiences were maybe 20,000 people for small gigs. Yeah. But with him, I did my very biggest audience with Stevie, which was at Copacabana Beach with Gilberto Gil in Brazil. And that was 800,000 people.
My goodness.
And with Beyonce, the average state, I guess with her, I've only done the stadium tours, so I don't know the smaller ones. So the small gigs were 60,000 people, which is insane. But, and then television with her, so many, many millions with that, many millions with the Arsenio Hall show when I was doing that every night. And there's a magic that happens when you're in this space with that level of genius, because that's what those people are. They are absolutely genius. And because the thing is, they're able to craft their music in a way that touches the hearts of millions, and that's special. And there's no way that I can't be in that environment and not get goosebumps, not feel the energy and the excitement behind it. It's a real gift to be able to know them, to work for them, to learn their music. And that's one thing that I definitely do. I learn their music intimately so that I know how to recreate it the way they want to hear it. And it's wonderful. I love it. And I dream of a day when I'm able to somehow sustain doing both. Where when they want me to do something with them, I can do that. But then I can also go do my own thing, because I love and respect the creativity that I'm able to do. To this date, I haven't been able to reach millions yet, but and I may never, or I might. I don't know, whatever it is. But even if I only have one person, which I've had more than one person be affected by the songs I write, what a gift to be able to change someone's state of being from sadness to joy, or to have them become contemplative, to reconsider something they did that may have negatively affected someone else, but they heard my song and that made them go apologize, or to just be better. Who knows? But so I love all of it.
You're giving me goosebumps just talking about it right now. I really want to switch gears on you here. You also have been involved with the instruction side of the piano with Pianote. Can you talk a little bit more and tell our listeners more about Pianote?
Absolutely. So Pianote is the piano division of a Canadian company called Musura. Now, Musura, the first company they had, their first division they had was Drumeo, and it's one of the biggest online drumming services online available, right? So they then added Pianote, which is their piano division, and it's just doing incredibly well. And they have a series of coaches come in and then that do videos teaching jazz or teaching cocktail piano or how to play basic chords, everything from absolute beginners to more, advanced students who want to learn a new skill set, right? Mm-hmm. And so they invited me. I actually got the connection through Antonio Ferranti from Dexibel, the Italian company, who connected me with Lisa Witt, who is the lead teacher on piano, and she's extraordinary. Oh, I love her so much. She's just so fun, such a great teacher, and just energetic and inspiring and encouraging to the next level. So she's got tons of courses on the platform, but they invited me up to teach classical piano specifically, and so they had me create about 90 videos teaching an entire course of classical piano, not for absolute beginners, but from higher level beginner through advanced intermediate. Mm-hmm. And I composed a few pieces, as well as edited some more like I edited some Chopin to make it more approachable for an intermediate student. And we created a book as well to go, a companion book. And it's going great. We put up a couple of videos also of me and Lisa and I performing a couple of songs, like I think the one that we did for covering an Adele song has got almost 200,000 views now. So it's just, it's doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And I've gotten incredible feedback. The community on there is beautiful. That word community just keeps coming up. It's incredible because the people are engaged in the lessons, and then they comment, and then I go on and I give them feedback here and there when I can. So it's cool to know that I can teach in this way beyond just, private lessons, which is one-on-one, but I can teach thousands of people in a way that they actually feel like they're learning. And that's the feedback I'm getting, that they really enjoy it. That's so fun.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, then I'm going to go back to the beginning of the podcast a little bit and talk about Orion Salazar. We had you did some videos with him for covers of Beatles tunes. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, that was so much fun. Orion called me and Dave and said that he had an opportunity to perform for what's it called, 4x4. I can't remember the exact title of it, but it was a Beatles tribute concert special event, right? And so we did a bunch of videos, and then we submitted the videos. But the songs are all so beautiful, so wonderful. And then we just got together, and a bunch of us filmed in our studio. Dave and I have a studio downtown Los Angeles, and then some of the other people sent their video in, and it was all edited together, and it turned out great.
Yes.
And Orion's such a great bass player, and just grounded us. And Dave's drumming is phenomenal, and Dave engineered the whole thing, and just. I did my little piano thing.
All right. I got one last thing. League of Legends. So I was kind of tracking back to your acting stuff. I was looking at that, and you had mentioned in there, let's see, Pentakill 3, and I watched a couple of videos. There was one that was like a whole, all animated with the band playing, but then there's the one that was my favorite was the Behind the Battle, and it actually had you guys there, like you behind the piano and all dressed in black suits, and the little handheld or the camera mounted things. It's just so cool. Can you talk about that experience?
Yeah, so I was able to do that last year. It was for Pentakill's album release. So Pentakill's a band in the game League of Legends. The Hollywood Scoring was the organizers of it for Riot Games, and I was invited to come, and I had to learn very difficult, intricate keyboard parts, like Jordan Ruess level, hard rock, metal, metal songs, and it was so fun though. I loved it. I love a challenge, and I am a classical pianist, so I just love any music that's gonna instigate that high-level technique that I don't always get to flex, but to be able to flex it, I'm ready.
Yeah, that was fun.
But it was motion capture. So they motion captured all of us, that we had the black suits on with like 100 sensors all over head to toe, as well as a mounted head cam that captured our facial expressions. And I played the role of Sona, who is the female keyboard player. I don't think that it's a keyboard in the actual game, but it resembles a keyboard.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, they then captured all of my motion, and it was incredible to see it in the actual performance, which you can find on YouTube, as you saw.
Yeah.
And it's fun for me to watch her because I know it's a cartoon or animation, but it's me because it's my hand movement. It's the way I move my shoulders, and it's surreal to see it. And so that was a lot of fun to really to inhabit that character and try to make my body movements align with the badassery that she presents, because she ends, well, I won't reveal what she does. She does something in the video. You got to watch it to see. And then they also hired me to do the World Championships, where I played keyboard for the guest artists Lil Nas X and Jackson Wang. And we did that at Chase Center in San Francisco back in November. So I absolutely love doing that sort of work, and I sure look forward to doing a lot more of it, because it excites both sides, right? Because I get to be able to act in a character, like a character that's nothing to do with me, but also play highly technical, challenging, exciting music.
Very cool.
Very cool. Well, you spoke about Decibel just previously here a couple minutes ago. Can you talk about your endorsement with Decibel, and how long have you been associated with them?
Sure. So I met the guys over at Decibel, I believe it was in 2017 at the NAMM show. I was there, and I was hanging out with Stevie Wonder at the show, and he went by the booth, and he started to play, and then once he started to play, I started to play, and so that's how I got to know them. And I just was friends with the whole team there, but particularly Antonio, who's the president of the company. And we just, established a relationship, a business relationship, and that just demonstrates, this business, it's so funny how talent is a big component, but equally big is, who are you as a person?
Yes.
I posted something on my Instagram that it was a quote by Quincy Jones, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically he said that he learned from Nadia Boulanger that your music will only be as good as you are a person. So wow, that, and then also watching Stevie, watching Beyonce, how they comport themselves. Are they good people? Yes. How do they treat people with kindness? Yes. And so that's how I live. I treat everyone with kindness, like literally everyone. And that generates relationship. And when you're in relationship with people like Orion, like all the other people in the Beatles video, like all the people that I've worked with at Decibel, it makes it so that there's a camaraderie, and there's motivation to further the work. And so, like, when I do master classes, I do lectures at universities, etc. When I talk to young students, that's what I always emphasize to them. Yes, do the work to be the best musician you can possibly be. Work harder than everyone you know. But also be a cool hang. Be a cool person.
Oh, well said. Well said. Well, we are out of our allotted time for this evening. Is there anything that we left off tonight that you would like to promote or plug?
I would say everyone please go to the Marian Musical website, check it out. If you want to donate or become an investor, please do. Follow us on all the platforms, EnSpirits, EnSpirits.com is our website, but you can also find us EnSpirits Music on Instagram, on Twitter. There's a Facebook page too, though the Facebook has been very strange for me lately. I don't know what happened, but somehow my page disappeared, and I can't get anyone to help. So
oh no,
it's amazing how that happens, huh?
Yeah.
I don't even understand it. I'm like, my page is nothing but puppies, rainbows, and music. I'm like, what? I get disappeared anyway. So yeah, those, and if you have listeners in Europe, we'll be over there. Come see a show. You know?
Well, very
Nice.
good.
Yeah.
Well, this is how things are going to work out. Look for this episode.
Okay.
Jeff, the editing wizard over here, will get it all cleaned up. And we'll have it out for consumption in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
And please share it wherever you can. We'd love it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
You were fantastic.
Sure.
We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right.
This was so fun. Thank you.
Oh, it was a blast. I'll be in touch with you in about 3 weeks. Until then, safe travels.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Take
Guys,
care.
Take care.
You too.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Everybody hides at home inside their nest of snakes. Everybody grinds the stone and makes their own mistakes. Hide in the headlights, fight the grip of fear. You can make your dreams come true, but you just can't do it here. Hey! Everybody eyes the gun and screams inside their head. Everybody bites their tongue and pays their bills instead. Hide in the spotlights, fight the grip of death. You can have the air you need, but you best not take one breath. Hey! Roll the dice. Take your chances. Everybody knows the game is fixed, there is no prize. Everybody pulls the plug and says their last goodbyes. Move to the sunshine, fight the grip of nights. If they ever take from you the